Welcome. I am Daisy, your hostess. You're just in time to join us on this winding path where we have come across a necromancer. Seems to be the same one who revived Betty Shine, so to speak, as we recently leafed through her book titled Mind to Mind. You can find it in my playlist. Betty Shine took us into the world of mediumship and spiritual healing, and ever since, we've been trying to find our way out of this labyrinth. Seems we've come upon this junction, meeting up with the spirit of Sophia Williams. She was known to have the ability or gift of direct voice mediumship. She required neither darkness nor the trance state. Moreover, she required no prayers, no hymns, no rituals of any kind, and the voices came in daylight. It was said that the voices could be heard coming from somewhere around her, but they were only whispers. Seems that before we can proceed, there is something she wants to share with us. She's left some clues in her book titled, You Are Psychic. I already know that if you're here with me, you are not the squeamish type, and you already know that there's more to this meat suit we wear for such a short time. Perhaps you have enhanced senses, or know of someone who does, or are related to someone that does, or perhaps you are curious. As long as you leave dogma and fear at the front door, and if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, you will be able to get a glimpse of the dimension only a few have had the privilege to experience. Before I turn the page, I invite you to hold this question close to the forefront. Is there life after death? And now, the words of Sophia Williams come to life. You Are Psychic by Sophia Williams. This is an excerpt from the Preface. My purpose in writing this book, my first book, has been to perform my part in eliminating this nauseous business by helping the reader to develop his own normal faculties and to thus make possible to him the genuine psychic communication he seeks. I have never made commercial use of the psychic powers which I have developed within myself, but I have always been alert and eager to assist others in achieving similar development. The mistaken belief that psychics are born and not made, and that psychic ability is a special gift possessed by only a chosen few, led me to this undertaking, the creation of a simple, understandable primer. Herein I have sought to outline the rudimentary steps which you may take to the desired end of making psychic contacts yourself, rather than remain dependent upon others who might or might not be capable and honest. If I have repeated myself in spots, it has been because of my desire to make my explanations and directions clear and simple, and to impress upon the mind of the reader the importance of each step toward the achievement of success. If I have made myself as clear as I have tried to, surely repetition can do no harm. I am presenting an article published in a recent issue of the Psychic Observer, which will offer some idea of my own work. I might relate hundreds of cases in which I or some other psychic has received evidential proof of the continuation of personality after death. To convince yourself of the survival of such personality, learn how to make your own personal contacts and banish all your doubts forever. Signed, initials S.W. Chapter 1. You Are Psychic. What is psychic force? How does psychic force operate? How have I arrived at the conclusions set forth in this book? At the risk of boring the better informed, I start by assuming that the reader has no knowledge of this general subject so that I may avoid leaving the least informed groping for greater clarity. I believe I may best attain my objective by relating my own experiences. I began as a skeptic. I desired to either disprove psychic claims or to develop the faculties which produce this natural phenomenon. I watched and analyzed every step of the way over a period of years. Thus I arrived at certain concrete conclusions concerning what takes place in the mental and physical spheres during psychic manifestations. Now, having instructed many others and having watched their development and compared their reactions with my own, it has been definitely demonstrated to me that there is in constant operation and overmind or force, which for lack of a better name I shall throughout this book call the stream of intelligence. Each of us is a channel through which this stream of intelligence circulates. We absorb it according to our capacities, the amount and quality of knowledge, information, and understanding of which we are capable. As we learn in time to absorb correctly and understandingly, our capacities enlarge and our intelligence increases. Ordinarily, people go through life gathering in a haphazard manner whatever knowledge they actually obtain. There is neither correlation nor constructive preparation for the future, nor toward real understanding in this unplanned type of gathering knowledge. Each of us is really like one volume of a complete set. We hold within us what we might refer to as pages of that volume. We fill those pages with the knowledge we acquire for future use. It is plain to be seen, therefore, that it behooves us to get our information in an orderly manner if it is to be of value to us or to humanity. This also serves us from having to scramble through the entire book when we need some specific bit of information which we have stored away. The process of obtaining knowledge direct from the overmind or stream of intelligence through psychic channels is a perfectly natural one. It takes time and patience, however, to develop. In my experience, the information I receive by means of this channel seems to come through intermediaries. It comes in the form of words and conversations from distinct personalities who have passed through the change called death. They always identify themselves, and their identities can be checked and proved. This is a fact which I have demonstrated to hundreds of others and to my own satisfaction. It is, however, still a moot question and open for discussion among most scientific men. Many of them admit that the phenomenon exists, but many do not admit that it is in any way connected with non-physical personalities. I shall explain more about the non-physical personalities later. It is not the purpose of this book to convince the reader that what I have said herein is true. I desire only to instruct you so that you too may develop your extrasensory perception and psychic faculties, and thus receive information through psychic means at will or with such readiness as you may become capable of. As you learn, you will unquestionably evolve your own theory of how this phenomena occurs and establish your own methods of making psychic contacts. It is apparent to me that there is in nature a store of general overall knowledge which, like a great encyclopedia, contains answers to all our questions. By this I do not mean that all knowledge is stored away somewhere and that all answers are there for tapping, for knowledge is itself constantly in a state of evolvement. We must look at the cosmos as a great chemical laboratory in which changes and experiments are constantly going on. We must believe that there must be in nature an overall formula which changes as the ingredients are mixed and remixed. Such changes and actions, as they take place and according to the manner in which they take place, form new and different elements, thus making knowledge continuously progressive and evolutionary as nature herself progresses. As we learn to tap the stream of intelligence, we must do so in a manner which is beneficial to ourselves and to humanity at large. The stream of intelligence contains everything to date that is contained in the overall formula of the cosmos, for knowledge is constantly in the process of enlarging and growing. As is the case with any formula, we must select the right ingredients so that they may be mixed correctly to bring about desired results. Most of our mistakes are made because we have not learned to take from the stream of intelligence the right information, which at the time will bring success. As Shakespeare has so aptly explained it, There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyages of life are bound in shallows and in misery. When your extrasensory faculties are developed and understood, it is found that what we call past, present, and future are in reality all one, a constantly molding cycle of events, each one an integral part of the other. It therefore becomes possible to know and observe what has already taken place and why, what is now happening, and what potentially should happen in what we call the future. You also become aware of this fact. Although man, in a sense, is a free agent, in reality, all nature is one and indivisible, and all of nature influences the ever-changing cycle of events. It thus becomes evident that you must learn the fundamental principles which govern and activate the universal whole. This can be learned through the development of the psychic. It is through this greater understanding more readily seen that one man alone cannot bring about the completion of any event, no matter how trivial, and that developing psychic faculties merely for the solving of material and physical problems alone will not be likely to work successfully. Tapping the stream of intelligence properly, or as nearly so as your understanding and ability permit, is the way to put to use the basic logic thus developed, which works as rules and tables do in applied mathematics. After you learn to apply psychic knowledge, you then are able to use your judgment freely in making decisions, which, however, may be either right or wrong according to the manner of your interpretation of the potential evolution of events. In this way only is man a free agent. If either by lack of understanding or for any other reason he acts unwisely, he not only suffers the consequences himself, but also affects universal progress. It is but natural to suppose that man can never completely understand nature and her workings, because nature, of which man is a part, is forever in a state of evolvement. But the more fully we do understand, and the more knowledge we have, the fewer the mistakes we will be likely to make. That is a spiritual application, but it applies well to man's physical and mental life, because the physical and mental are only reflection of the spiritual. Know how to adjust yourself to the universal whole and to understand the why of events, which psychic understanding teaches you, and you will become less liable to make errors and less prone to criticize and judge others for the mistakes they make. You will realize that the mistakes of others are dependent in part upon what you yourself may do, and that each one of us helps bring about the mistakes and the successes of others. Man must know himself apart from temporal things and fully in relation to the intellectual and universal whole. Man must, of course, live objectively while he is part of the physical phase of life, but the inner or intellectual man is the real man. He creates his own objective thoughts put into action. If man does not know who and what he is and how he fits into the universal life and action, he can neither think nor act correctly. Man must be able to trust his own judgment before he becomes capable of judging others. His ideas are of no value unless and until he understands how to think and what his thoughts mean. He must gain his knowledge and understanding as an individual, realizing at all times his connection with and responsibility to the whole. He must therefore adjust himself and his abilities to the universal whole, even though the problem at hand be trivial. In other words, every act and every reaction of each one of us is really only our part in cosmic action and reaction, and every result affects every one of us. It is only by persistent effort to develop and gain understanding and knowledge of your own inner qualities that you can create a harmonious state of being for yourself and, in effect, for humanity. Every decision you may make must be the best you can make, never overlooking the effect of your action and thoughts on others. It is in this way you may help create for yourself and for every other person in the universe harmony of thought and action. This is the kind of knowing, the reality of comprehension, which is gained when you develop and use your extrasensory and psychic faculties. Note, unless you possess an exceptional capacity for understanding and assimilating the essence of what you read, the contents of the foregoing chapter cannot yet be thoroughly clear to you. When I began my investigations on this subject, what you have just read would not have been completely clear to me. Therefore, I ask you to go back and read the entire chapter again, slowly and carefully. Study requires not merely reading. You may digest what you read. To digest food, we chew it before we swallow it. In your haste, it is probable that you have gulped chapter 1. We are dealing with knowledge that cannot be gulped, with mental food, that is, or may seem just a little tough at first. Remember, we are pioneers, in a sense, in psychic exploration and in the advancement of knowledge gained from such exploration. Patience in enlarging our understanding brings rewards well worth all the effort involved. Chapter 2. Clairvoyance and Clairaudience, Extended Vision and Hearing. Each one of us possessed of so-called normal mental capacity can develop extrasensory ability and use his faculties to bring about psychic contacts. In the years during which I have worked with many people and helped them develop these faculties, I have demonstrated to myself that every one of us possesses psychic ability in greater or lesser degree. I say with implicit faith in the truth of my statement that such extended hearing, seeing, and sensible abilities greatly beyond what we call normal hearing, seeing, and sensing can be developed in each one of us. Further, I say this is all in accord with a natural law and not something mysterious or supernatural. This is more difficult to develop with some than with others, but it is possible with all. It is true that we really make our own arrangements to get psychic information, and the type of information we may receive depends on the mental capacity of the receiver and on contacting the right sources of information. If we strive to contact senders who will help us, and we are certain they are of the quality we desire them to be, then we will learn something of value every time we make psychic contact. In this work, we are not unlike radio instruments. We must learn to tune in on the exact wavelength which will bring us the information, or let us say the program for which we are reaching. Such information, when received, must then be intelligently applied to our needs. My own experience leads me to believe that there are two ways of receiving. One seems to come by way of intermediaries or disembodied personalities. When I receive information through such sources, I am able to name the personalities, describe them, and give other positive proof and identification. The second method of contact is a direct one. In employing it, I tune directly in on the overmind or stream of intelligence. This contact is far more difficult to make than one made through intermediaries. Sometimes I tune directly into the stream of intelligence with no difficulty. There are other times when I am unable to do so. I am still exerting every effort to overcome my inability to make such contacts at will, and am carefully studying how to do so. When I succeed, as I know I shall, this information will be passed on to you. Both sources of information, however, are usually accurate. Sometimes interpretation of the receiver is incorrect, and in this way mistakes are made, which really are the mistakes of the one who is interpreting. Frequently such mistakes are corrected in either the same or another sitting. If we're dealing with or receiving from disembodied personalities, and this is of course something you will decide for yourselves after you learn to tune in, the information received has a definite human quality. It is likely to be colored by the personality of the sender and may be relatively right or wrong according to the sender's opinion on that subject. If life and personality are continuous, and I believe they are, the sender, the disembodied personality, becomes further advanced than we are through the greater opportunity to acquire understanding after the change called death. He has also, with less obstruction, a clearer view of the potential future. The sender thus becomes better able to give us assistance with whatever he is attempting to send us, and we can always rely on the fact that whatever these disembodied personalities may tell us, it is with a sincere desire to be helpful. Now, I will give you an idea of how to sit for development. My belief is that if a means to acquire such development exists, then every proven way to do so, as set down hereafter, should be of help. There is also the possibility that you, the reader, may be a natural receiver, that you may be able to tune in the first time you try. On the contrary, it may take you a long time. Patience and perseverance will be all that is required to prove that psychic phenomena exist and that every normal man, woman, and child is a prospective receiver and can make contacts if he or she will make the effort. In order to achieve psychic manifestations, absolute relaxation is the first step. Never concentrate. You must be ready to receive and not be all set to force some kind of contact. Put your desire for information on a high level. Sit each day if you can at the same time and place for half an hour at least. Keep these appointments faithfully. Conscious thought must be avoided. Consciously trying not to think is thinking. Sit in the state of mind that comes when, while watching a moving picture, the screen suddenly becomes blank and as though you were quietly awaiting the reappearance of the picture and the sound of the voice to begin again. The secret is to sit in a state of expectancy. Your mind cleared of all conscious thought and memories. Then pictures will begin to appear, perhaps only a flash of sight or sound, or only a vivid impression in the beginning, or you may have exceptionally clear and satisfying results immediately. Thus you will begin to learn how to see clairvoyantly and hear clairaudiently. Relaxation is one of the first musts when sitting for psychic manifestations. Be seated comfortably and relax. Begin to relax by starting at the top of the head and relax each part of the body. Say to yourself audibly, if it helps you, my head is relaxed, my face is relaxed, etc., etc., until you have gone over every part of you and feel completely rested and relaxed. Do not lie down to accomplish this because you will, in such an achieved state, go to sleep. Just sit, relaxed and comfortable, and try to empty your mind. Make it empty. Remove and erase every thought, every memory, every idea. When you do this, you will have accomplished one of the most difficult tasks. Time, patience, and practice will bring success. It is difficult to empty the mind of thoughts because every thought you have is one solely in relation to yourself. The world exists for each one of us entirely within ourselves and within our own minds, and only as it impresses us or relates to us personally. Therefore, the act of forgetting oneself, that's a hard thing to do. However, it can be done. To some people, it may come quite easily. For example, when we get ready for sleep each night, we either clear the mind or we do not fall asleep. To make psychic contact, we must do two things: remain awake and yet clear the mind of all thoughts and ideas. I have found a means of arriving at this state of mind, and it may be helpful to others. I close my eyes and picture a blank gray wall or a quiet, serene body of water. Since it is important that all sounds be shut out, also, it is best to sit in a quiet room that is semi-dark. When we once arrive at a state of detachment, we are ready for clairvoyance and clairaudience, which are extended senses of hearing and seeing beyond the so-called physical range of sight and hearing. In my own experiences, I have found that the sense of time is eliminated, and I'm able to see and hear things in the present, past, and future with equal clarity, or I see them as one. After all, time is merely a measurement set up by man. The following brief explanation will help to show the types of hearing and seeing that follow through the mediums of clairvoyance and clairaudience as they differ from physical faculties. Clairaudience, the ability to hear sounds not normally audible. Clairvoyance, ability to see things out of the range of ordinary perception. I say again at this point that conclusions and expressions advanced by me in this book are the result of my own experiences. Yours may be quite different. These are mine. Don't accept them. Prove them. The pictures I see and the information which I hear psychically are definite mental impressions. They seem to be impressed on the brain centers which control hearing and vision, but they do not take physical and concrete form. They are more nearly like pictures and conversations one recalls as having taken place in the past. As these impressions and conversations begin to come in, try not to analyze. Remain calm and detached, and just watch and listen. When you put active thoughts into motion and mix conscious thinking with the impressions which come in without conscious effort, you cease being detached. Detachment is most important. It is the channel through which information is received. By shutting out the physical, you open the door to the psychic. A state of detachment must therefore come without conscious effort. Any active or conscious thought must be avoided if success is to follow. There are also other elements which enter into this matter of reception. You make of yourself an instrument comparable to a radio set. Much depends on the condition of your set. Those who may be ill are not as likely to receive as clearly as those who are in good health. That is because a sick body will tend to upset the balance necessary to keep the mind detached and at ease. Again, there are times when the detachment is complete and all else seems to be favorable for fine reception and nothing happens at all. This seems to indicate that there are forces beyond our control which impede the natural reception that ordinarily follows. As a consequence, do not expect or demand certain definite information in the beginning. Accept anything at all which may come in, if at first anything at all does come in. Nor should one have any set preconceived ideas on subjects he is anxious to hear about, for he is likely to have such ideas upset. An open mind is an absolute necessity. You must have a state of mind prepared to accept any information which may come through on any subject and about anything. Information received may be quite contrary to that desired or quite foreign to the ideas of the one receiving. Frequently, it may be startling and entirely unexpected, undesired, astonishing. It is quite natural that we all are anxious to receive help on physical and financial problems, and it may be that some of you have definitely in mind to get such help. But the information which comes through sometimes covers entirely different subject matter and does not even refer to that which the sitter hopes for. With right desire on the sitter's part, everything which comes in psychically should be instructive and beneficial. The most important and real development is that of the inner man, and by that I mean what is commonly referred to as the spirit, the soul, the inner power, or whatever other term one prefers to employ. By such development, our relationship to the whole of humanity becomes greatly defined. We discover through psychic understanding that each of us is solely responsible for our own behavior. Although we are separate worlds within ourselves, yet we are one and indivisible with the whole, whether conscious or unconscious of the fact, responsible in a measure for the functioning and the unity of the whole. Instruction or information coming via extrasensory channels will, therefore, generally be of a nature quite impersonal, and to many not immediately desirable, because most people want to hear things about themselves and their own problems. We cannot hope to see through our own eyes, nor through the eyes or understanding of others, the complete picture of any event. Each happening is, in itself, an infinitesimal part of the great spread of events reaching out in every direction. We can and must learn, with the development of extended vision and hearing, to see and hear far above and beyond the physical ranges of sight and hearing. This helps us judge more competently. As a consequence, we become better able to act more reasonably. We are much less liable to make errors. Having once acquired extended vision and hearing, you will have a more clear and graphic picture of the so-called past and present, and enough idea of the potential future to enable you to mold it to a great extent according to your own judgment. Then you can try to bring about the results you desire, always taking into consideration the best interest of all others involved. Events in the too near future cannot always be changed or influenced, as I shall do my best to explain by the following simile. Events are drops of water in the river of life. There may be obstacles like logs in the river, which divert the stream, and instead of flowing along its normal course, the waters may be diverted to other channels. Sometimes, if we foresee the course of events before obstacles are encountered, we may be able to remove them, or to change our course so as to take into consideration every means necessary to alter these events. Such events reach from the so-called dim past like an endless chain to the unformed distant future, involving not only ourselves, but an infinite number of other people and circumstances. We cannot see the composite whole, but we must enlarge our intellectual capacities so as to understand to our fullest capability and thus be enabled to act wisely under all circumstances. Looking backwards over what has happened to you and the courses you have taken, you will be able to see that there were always two or more paths you might have chosen. It is possible, in many instances, with better vision and more understanding, to retrace your steps, to walk another path which you had previously avoided, and perhaps correct mistakes you have unwittingly made. By means of extrasensory psychic channels, you develop a better and clearer understanding of honesty, truthfulness, and fair dealing, and this in turn brings better judgment for large and small daily problems. We may develop these propensities first within ourselves. As Shakespeare says, "To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man." The job of remaking ourselves into really worthwhile men and women is such a big one that it will leave us little time to judge or criticize others. In prayers, you really criticize God's judgment when you ask Him to change things to the way you wish them. Why not learn to understand the harmonious whys and whereofs of creation? In that way, you may learn how to change yourself to fit into the pattern, and then perhaps understand the reason underlying it. We cannot expect nature to change to fit our pattern. We must fit ourselves into the pattern of nature. Never criticize people of race, creed, or color different from your own. Learn to understand why creation found it best to include all that is now of this universe. Above all, learn to understand that everything that is in the universe is needed and is of value in relation to everything else. This manner of thinking, seeing, and hearing psychically is, in reality, the merging of man's mind with infinite intelligence which governs all things, all people, and all knowledge. Only in this way can you, or I, release the shackles of wrong thinking, wrong action, and wrong understanding from our consciousness and our lives. Thus, by understanding ourselves and the universal rights of others, we learn to recognize and protect those rights for humanity at large. It is well to recognize that even a world with a perfectly balanced economy will not be a peaceful world. Only when man is at peace with himself can there be peace among men. Learning and recognizing that another man differs from you in appearance, ideas, habits, and color because of evolution, heredity, environment, and capacity for knowledge will surely make life happier for all and make for a lasting peace among all peoples. This is the type of knowledge we gain by psychic contact with the stream of intelligence. This is a study not for weaklings, not for narrow-minded, self-satisfied people who are bigoted, selfish, and interested only in the acquirement of worldly possessions. Such knowledge and harmonious understanding, knowledge gained through clairvoyance and clairaudience, comes without great effort to the man who knows what he seeks and what psychic development helps him learn. With a better understanding of the world in which we live and of man in general, our own dealings with others become more harmonious and equitable, and our differences fewer. Hence, we learn how to get the possessions and supplies we need and desire. Our desires, of course, will change and increase in such knowledge, and as we learn and develop, we will seek more lasting acquirements. We thus prepare ourselves for the future with confidence and understanding, and our direct contact with the stream of intelligence causes us to see and hear and learn the highest and best that life holds, all according to our individual capacity, broadened and enlarged through psychic study. Chapter 3. Physical Manifestations. Each and every one of us should learn to use his or her natural faculties through which we can see and hear beyond the physical range. When this has been accomplished, many of us will find that physical phases of mediumship will follow this development as a matter of course. Many phases of physical manifestations are possible. For example, I have seen writing appear on a slate without any physical contact whatsoever. I have had rare privilege of witnessing the materialization of a disembodied personality in broad daylight. As a rule, most physical phenomena is produced in dark rooms, as light rays seem to interfere with manifestations. In rare cases, however, somebody who is evidently constructed physically as to be able to do so may make possible the production of such phases in the light. In my own case, a small high-pitched voice is often heard which seems to come from the air around me or from some other part of the same room in which I sit. This happens both in lighted and darkened rooms or out of doors, and neither the time nor the place seems to affect the production of this independent voice. This is a phase of physical mediumship. It is just as important to be calm and detached for bringing in this kind of phenomena as it is for mental reception. Direct concentration or excitement or nervousness prevents reception of this or any other phenomena. Harmony among sitters is of the utmost importance to produce the best results. When psychic contact has been made with one of our disembodied friends on the next dimension or directly with the stream of intelligence, and when you have learned how to control such contacts by means of instruction physically received, you will continue to progress spiritually and to develop all the psychic powers within yourself and within your range of ability and capacity. An excellent way to begin development is to form a small group of interested people, say from 2 to 10 people, who will spend one evening a week or two, if they can, in what I call an experiment circle. Most groups of this kind begin by sitting around a table in a semi-dark room. It is more comfortable to sit where the sitters may relax. When one places the hands lightly on the table, raps often are heard, and sometimes the table moves and tilts. I do not believe in sitting in the dark is a requirement for making psychic contacts, but in the beginning, with no opportunity to look about and to center in the interest of anything in the room, darkness is very helpful. I have found, however, that in order to produce levitation or materialization, darkness is necessary. More about this later. In any event, darkness has a quieting effect, and it helps toward detachment and relaxation. Here again, we must stop to realize that each one of us is differently constructed, both mentally and physically. Experiments which may work for one of us may fail for another. There are, however, a few simple rules which apply to all efforts toward psychic development. Relaxation, detachment, harmonious surroundings, impersonal desires, and an attitude of thankfulness for any contacts which may be made and for any information received. From there on, one works out his own method of securing results. There is a personalized, natural ability within every one of us. We can, up to a certain point, follow the precepts which have proven successful with others, but there comes a certain time and place in the efforts we make to get in touch psychically with those on the next dimension of life, with the disembodied personalities who answer our call for assistance in the development of our own forces, when and where we must start on our own. It is a point at which we seem to be able to select the best manner in which we, as individuals, should go on from there. When information comes in, never stamp it as untrue nor as trivial until you have carefully analyzed it in all its phases. Never accept anything as being absolutely true until you have made certain that it is true. We all have found, as we go forward, that all things believed to be either true or untrue, either good or evil, are only relatively so. What may be true one day, because of certain changes in events or in the mixing of circumstances in this great chemical laboratory of life, be untrue or only partially true the next day. Good, evil, truth, untruth, these are all relative. So heed this advice: neither accept nor reject until you have analyzed, until you have made every test to satisfy yourself as to the nature of the information you receive. Many times something which appears to be right or wrong over a long period of time will prove to be exactly the opposite from what was first believed. There are also great or less degrees of right and wrong, just as there are many shades of colors between black and white. However, it is a fact that there is no positive right or wrong, good or evil. They are ideas related only as they concern you or only as your own situation may be involved. Chapter 4. Materialization. The psychic phenomenon of materialization requires a dark room, not completely dark, but with very little light, preferably red, which is just sufficient to light up the phosphorescent-like material that forms or materializes into the various shapes and likeness of personalities, and which are concrete forms visible to the eye and not mental pictures nor impressions. This material is called teleplasm and is exuded from the bodies of some of the sitters who apparently are so psychically constituted as to be able to help in the production of such phenomena. Teleplasm appears like a phosphorescent mist that glows like lighted silver. It sometimes takes on the appearance of a person, a face, a hand, or many other forms. The forms and objects so created are animated, move about, and in some instances the personalities speak, give their names or relationships, etc., and actually identify themselves. It has been my practice never to suggest any kind of phenomena unless I have experienced it myself or have seen it and satisfied myself that what I saw was not a fraudulent attempt to mystify an audience. Therefore, I say here that while materialization is a rare form of psychic mediumship, it is nevertheless one that I am satisfied is true and possible to experience by any student. And I never accept any information, identification, or other form of psychic experience unless I am sure it is genuine. Speech issuing from materialized forms is made possible by the creation, in life's great chemical laboratory, of an artificial voice box, a copy of the human voice box, which is made from this teleplasm. This is my theory of how disembodied personalities can make sounds which are recognizable as sort of toneless human speech. Many people, among whom were a number of scientists of standing, have heard this voice and have seen these manifestations through the channels I am able to contact. Among these scientific men have been those who were not satisfied that my theory is correct. This is my opinion, largely due to the fact that only in the last few years have men of science become interested enough in this kind of phenomena to study it and to attempt to classify it and to solve the riddle so that they may arrive at conclusions which are acceptable to science at large. It is a study well worth their while and of great importance to humanity. The theory is that disembodied personalities mold this teleplasm into forms resembling themselves as they appeared while among us and before they entered into the next dimension of life. They animate the form so molded and don what we might call a teleplasmic overcoat to make us see and recognize the men through which they speak to us. Such speech is possible through the use of the teleplasmic voice box. Inasmuch as I have experienced these things, you must take my word for it, or only until you have personally experienced the same thing and can arrive at some theory that is more acceptable to you than this one of mine. The teleplasmic material, being mist-like, diffuses easily. Therefore, it is well to construct a small cabinet to sit in, or to use a clothes closet or some other small enclosed space. Try sitting this way and have one or more observers with you. When you do, the phenomena may occur at a time and where you are unable to see it yourself. Materialization is a rare phase of mediumship, but it is my belief that anyone with the necessary physical makeup may develop it. All physical phases of mediumship and all manifestations are dependent upon this teleplasmic substance, and it seems plausible to suppose that, like electricity, about which we know so little, it too can be put to use in many ways while we are gaining greater knowledge concerning it. Independent voices, slate writing, levitation, and any number of other psychic manifestations also dependent on teleplasm to take place. And although we do not understand exactly how they take place or what causes them to occur, it is possible for many people to develop these phases and to produce such manifestations. As I have previously told you, the development of clairaudience and clairvoyance is the first and most important step in psychic development. You must learn to see and know the personalities you contact through extended vision and hearing. From that stage forward, the student will be instructed psychically and told what to do and how to bring about other kinds of phenomena. It immediately becomes your individual job after you have taken these first steps, which are of such great importance. Since we differ so greatly in physical and mental makeup, each one of us must work out his or her own means of getting results, which in each case may differ from others. In my own experience, for example, psychic seeing and hearing came rather readily from the start. I had 4 years of demonstrating this to hundreds of people before I discovered the small, high-pitched voice previously mentioned, which began to speak near me. It is an audible voice which gives intelligent information, as you can see and understand by reading of my experiences with the late Hamlin Garland, Dean of American Authors, whose book, The Mystery of the Buried Crosses, relates all this in detail. In the beginning, it is wise to try to use your clairaudient and clairvoyant powers to help work out the problems of others. Thus, you can easily remain impersonal, a consideration of great importance in this work. You are so close to your own affairs that at first it may seem difficult to separate the information which comes through the extrasensory channels from ordinary everyday thoughts. Knowing as I do that this kind of information comes to us from distinct personalities who have passed through the change called life, I have certain knowledge as to how these personalities contact me, what manner of lives they live, and why many things occur. But this book is designed to help others develop to the point where they themselves can and will see and hear through this psychically extended ability. When that occurs, everyone who becomes a student can form his own opinions without preconceived ideas. I do not ask or expect you to take my word for anything at all. Quite the contrary, I insist that you do it yourself and then formulate your own theories. The only knowledge worthwhile is provable knowledge, and that must be worked out by each individual for himself. I have offered here the first basic steps, and it is up to the reader to try them and formulate his own opinion. Then I am sure he will find the door opened into a new and miraculous world, a world in which the gain is so great that it helps not only himself, but also contributes to the benefit of the cosmic whole. Chapter 6: Physical Healing by Spiritual Means. Many of our human ills are based on mental upsets. The great increase of psychiatric treatments prove that these treatments are benefiting a constantly growing number of people. Envy, greed, hate, anger, and other emotional disturbances wreak havoc on the physical system. Worry and fear do more damage than all diseases put together. They act like boomerangs, and not only do they affect one mentally but physically as well. The effect of thoughts on your physical body causes healthy as well as sick reactions. Knowledge and right thinking can bring to you only health, peace, and happiness. The body obeys its mental commands. It responds to thoughts of happiness, health, and well-being with an immediate uplift of spirit. It reacts with a springiness of step and harmonious desire to get into action. To the contrary, thoughts of illness, hopelessness, and unhappiness induce a bleak outlook, and such thought effects are felt in the body as soon as they are formulated. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill. Such thoughts cause physical reactions that oftentimes lead to death. Had our forebears understood how to think and to apply that thinking properly to right living, we would all be endowed with normal, healthy bodies and minds. The foregoing is but a small array of what your own thinking will do to you and for you. Right thinking will produce right effects. Wrong thinking will bring about all of the difficulties to which man is heir. We owe it to ourselves and to everyone with whom we come in contact to learn to think right, to analyze whatever knowledge we withdraw from the stream of intelligence so as to make the best use of such knowledge to assure that our bodies as well as our minds will be healthy and happy. Thus, can we hand down to our children strong, healthy bodies and keen, intelligent, unhampered thinking process. Imagine such a general condition existing and its effect on humanity at large. Health, wealth, and happiness, they're not three, they are one. All are conceived in the overmind or stream of intelligence and controlled by the overmind in action. This is truly a magic formula. Know how to tap the stream of intelligence, know how to put knowledge to work correctly, and you are at once benefited in every way. Many diseases were bequeathed to us by our forebears who were ignorant of cause and effect. Put right thinking into action and establish a cause now that will produce good effects after. Begin now to change the endless chain of events. It lies within your power and understanding to do so, and you can make the future better for yourself and for the coming generations. 2 great wars which have come upon us within a generation have caused us to become a nervous and high-strung people. Only by learning control through understanding can we divest the future of recurring wars and the ills that follow, and in this way greatly benefit ourselves and the universal whole. Life is to each of us an ever-forming pattern into which we are constantly fitting the pieces together like a puzzle. Therefore, It behooves us to learn to select pieces which fit into their proper places, and to do so the very first time without making mistakes and suffering because of lack of understanding. Begin now to sit quietly each day. Relax, detach, forget self, learn through extrasensory means just how to do really productive thinking. Thus you will acquire health, plenty, and peace of mind. Before you, the present reader, lies a new world to explore, the psychic. What your exploration can bring you is beyond description. What you actually do with this great opportunity lies entirely within yourself. It is up to you. Part 2, Intermediate Lessons. Lesson 1. There are 3 basic rules to remember and cling to for successful psychic contact. They are relaxation, detachment, and visualization. Sit in a quiet, semi-dark room each day at the same time if you can. Make a regular appointment with yourself to sit and keep that appointment. Choose a comfortable chair where you can relax completely. Relax from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. If necessary, speak loud to yourself by saying, "The top of my head is now completely relaxed. My forehead is relaxed. My eyes are relaxed," and so on down to the soles of your feet. Sometimes audible suggestion helps to do the better job. Practice relaxing until you can drop into a chair and become comfortable and completely unaware of your body. It may take weeks of practice to accomplish complete relaxation, but it is immensely beneficial, both for making psychic contacts and for general health. You will soon find that it is conducive to achieving a state of calm and rest. In these days of speed, worry, and nerve-wracking experiences, 15 minutes of absolute physical and mental relaxation and rest will do wonders for you. Next, practice detachment. Forget self. Make your mind a blank. Don't think. At first, you'll find your thoughts jumping from one thing to another and impossible to control. Do not be discouraged by this, and do not concentrate. Detachment is the direct opposite of concentration. It is not the focusing of your mind on one specific thing in order to eliminate all others. Detachment is a state of blankness, wherein you forget even yourself. Gazing into a crystal or a glass of water may help you, as both of these objects are colorless. Finally, you will cease to be aware of the object you're looking at, or the reason for your activity. You will soon find yourself able to relax and to blank your thoughts out at will. It is wise to try these experiments in the daytime when you are wide awake and your vitality is high. Otherwise, this state of comfortable relaxation and detachment may cause you to fall into sleep. Having accomplished these 2 requirements means that half of the battle is won. The next step is psychic visualization and hearing, which are actually one. Being completely relaxed and detached, you become like a hollow tube through which the overmind or stream of intelligence flows. This stream is a thought stream, and you, being the receiving instrument, are impressed by these thoughts, which may appear to take the form of sight or sounds. As an analogy, you are a motion picture projector. The pictures, which are thoughts in the overmind, are projected through you and reflected or impressed upon the screen, which is your brain. Your brain picks them up and utilizes them. They may run across the screen so swiftly that you see only snatches until you learn to receive slowly and to control your intake. Such pictures seen or conversations heard are like visual or oral recollections. By this statement, I mean that such extended hearing and seeing are received by you in somewhat the same manner as recalling some past episode. But you can and may receive through your psychic faculties information and data on subject matter entirely new to you. During this process of visualization, you must remain detached. The moment you begin to analyze or question, you break the sequence or chain of thoughts which you are viewing. If while viewing a motion picture you stopped time and time again to analyze or criticize, you would lose the story. Sit as you do while attending a motion picture show and do your thinking and analyzing after it is over. Try in this way to get information for others, preferably strangers. Being able to tell other people specific things such as names, particular happenings, or circumstances which you couldn't possibly know will prove to you that the incoming information is correct. Receiving provable information about the future which no one knows will give you added confidence in your prophetic ability. Forming a small group of not more than 10 people who are interested in the development and sitting at a regular time and place will speed up this development. In such a group, you can practice on each other, and by keeping records, you may check back on the validity of the information so received. Many psychics give messages in symbolic form. Learn from the very beginning not to get your information symbolically. It is quite true that you must express in your own words what you see or hear. But if you see and hear clearly, you can and will describe it accurately. Always get specific information. If you see a man, describe him. Get his name and any other positive identification or evidential data about him. Never color these mental impressions with your own personal ideas. Give the messages as they appear, quickly and without deliberation or thought, no matter how silly they may seem to be. Here's a good exercise to practice with a group. Have each sitter write a word, sentence, or question, or draw a picture on a sheet of paper. Fold these papers and place a mark of identification on the outside of each. Then exchange your paper for one prepared by someone else in the class. Each person tries to read and receive an answer to questions without opening the message written within. This may seem like a feat of mind reading or telepathy. In a sense it is, yet you may receive answers to these questions which will later prove true. Often you may get accurate information unrelated to the sheet of paper you hold. This so-called psychometric reading makes one adept at picking up mental impressions from others in the room, and it then becomes easier to reach out and select what you desire from the stream of intelligence. So, with practice and perseverance, you can gain through relaxation, physical comfort, and release from nervous strain. You will soon learn through detachment and visualization to attune yourself to receive knowledge and information free from distortion and personal prejudice. These first few steps are actually one. The development of clairvoyance, clear vision, and clairaudience, clear hearing, open the door to the entire field of psychic manifestations. Be patient and persistent in your efforts. Do not expect miracles to happen overnight. Developing a singing voice or learning any art or trade takes much time and patience. Psychic development also takes time, work, and perseverance, but the reward is worth all the effort. You must develop clairvoyance and clairaudience as your first step towards psychic power. I am certain that much of the information and phenomena I receive comes through intermediaries, those personalities who exist in another space dimension or function on a higher rate of frequency. It is apparent to me that when these personalities pass into the next dimension, they carry with them all their habits, faults, and ideas, which they retain until they learn to progress. If a man was a liar here, he may still be a liar after death. Death only gives him the choice to progress or to remain as he is until he desires to change. It is therefore a necessity to be sure that you see, psychically, the person with whom you are in contact, and to know whether or not you can trust his or her judgment in giving advice. The time comes to every psychic student when he will have developed his abilities to the point beyond contact with intermediaries. Then he tunes directly into the stream of intelligence, and at that stage the student must be able to trust his own judgment in selecting information. Until that time comes, however, he must be sure of the contacts he makes and that those sources of information are trustworthy. All these ideas are my own. They are the result of my own experience. As you progress and develop your psychic abilities, you may arrive at entirely different conclusions. I will at all times be greatly interested in hearing of your progress and of any new conclusions you may reach. Lesson 2. This is a lesson of don'ts. It is intended as a warning that will save you from receiving false and misleading information. It will teach you to expect and demand logical answers to questions you may ask. This study is not to be confused with superstitions, voodooism, or black magic. It is neither supernatural nor supernormal. It is in accord with natural law. Each step accomplished is a formula which, when repeated time and again, will obtain the same result. Being, in a sense, a radio instrument, the results depend on your mechanism, which must be in proper condition for psychic reception. If you are nervous, upset, or ill, do not expect good results. When you cannot relax as you should, you will receive either distorted information or none at all. There is at times a sort of fog or impedance which seems to obstruct reception. This is undoubtedly caused by a force or forces outside the physical body over which we seem to have no control. Do not try to force reception at such times. As for religious beliefs, they are separate and apart from this phenomena. No doubt you will form a new philosophy or augment the one you already hold through information received. But do not allow yourself to attribute all happenings to the contacts you make. If you become convinced, as I have, that you are in touch with distinct personalities who have passed through the change called death, accept from them any information they are willing to give you, but weigh and analyze it. They are expressing personal opinions, and although they may and probably are further advanced than we, they are not infallible. Their opinions may be relatively right or wrong. I have read many books and heard numerous people say that they cannot come in contact with persons long gone because these persons have progressed to the 4th or 7th or 10th plane, as the case may be, and are thus unable to come back. Think how illogical such a statement is. Planes are not places. They are planes of mental and spiritual development. A kindergarten student is on a different mental plane than is a college graduate, yet they may sit together in the same room and speak to one another. So it is after the change called death. Those who have developed greatly beyond our capacities of understanding can visit with us if they so desire, but they will not discuss with us subjects that we lack the capacities to understand. There are no words to describe the experiences they now have. I constantly hear the expression that is some things we are not supposed to know. Do not believe that. You will discover that we can and will learn everything we are capable of understanding. As our knowledge increases, so our capability for more knowledge increases. Being an active part of the whole of creation, we must and will learn eventually all there is to know. As you progress, you must decide for yourself, as I have done, whether or not life and personality are continuous. If through psychic development you arrive at the same conclusions that I have, you will also realize that there are no barriers to learning except individual capacity. This is like a series of gates which open for you when you are ready to go ahead. The whole of creation is constantly progressing, and we as part of it must progress with it. There can be no final goal or peak of perfection that would mean stagnation and death. This to me seems the only logical kind of reasoning, and I am constantly enlarging my capacity for knowledge and spiritual understanding through it. You will do the same, and with less confusion. You will learn to accept psychic information which makes sense, and discard the foolishness, the fears, and the superstitions. We begin, as a student of chemistry does, by performing certain experiments. After obtaining certain results, we are able to repeat these experiments time after time and obtain the same results. Do not believe that you must sit in a pitch-dark room, hold hands, and keep your feet flat on the floor to experience psychic phenomena. This might be a must for some people, and it is undoubtedly of benefit in some instances, but fine manifestations will and do occur in brightly lighted rooms and without any preparation or ceremony whatever. Where phenomena that requires the use of vapor-like substance called teleplasm occurs, it seems necessary to sit in a dimly lighted room. The teleplasm is excluded by sitters in a lighted room, but because of its phosphorescent nature, is not visible in full light. However, there have been records of full materializations and levitation in full bright daylight. These are isolated cases and may depend on the physical structure of the medium involved, but you may be so constructed. My advice to the beginner is to try for this sort of phenomena in a dimly lit room, using a tiny red or amber bulb. Have just enough light to make visible the teleplasm. In sitting with a group, you may have to rearrange the seating of the members to obtain desired results. Inasmuch as some persons seem to have a sort of negative effect in one place, try changing until the effect is different. You can experiment until you find the best seating arrangement. It seems best, as a general rule, to alternate your male and female sitters. After sufficient development, you will forget self at any time or place, regardless of conditions, and will tune in with ease and success. You will become like a radio instrument through which infinite intelligence flows. In group sittings, I advise you to sit comfortably around a table with fingertips placed lightly on the table. Complete silence is not required. Conversation in normal voice range, without excitement and with students remaining seated and relaxed, should be the means of producing raps on the table and other types of manifestations. Lesson 3. When you have developed clairvoyance and clairaudience, you will no doubt become convinced that the information you receive through this extrasensory development comes from distinct personalities. The incoming information will sound as if a teacher were relaying it to you. As I have said many times before, I am convinced that I constantly come in touch with non-physical or discarnate personalities. Much of the information I receive comes from a teacher who instructs me. Desire to learn evidently attracts a teacher or instructor suited to your needs and to your capabilities for learning. Thought seems to be the communicating medium in the next phase of life. So, a thought or unspoken desire for development constitutes a broadcast for a teacher. These teachers will, first and foremost, help you to develop extended vision and hearing. You must then be sure of recognizing them clairvoyantly and by clairaudience. Hear their instructions and learn what is best for you to do. Each person, being differently assembled both mentally and physically, must pursue an individual course or method for development beyond the mental phase. While there are many exceptional psychics who never develop any of the physical phases of mediumship, it is my contention that, with proper instruction from teachers who have passed over, almost everyone is a potential physical medium. Many persons, of course, may not be sufficiently advanced to be prepared for these phenomena. We cannot teach geometry to a kindergarten pupil. I cannot say what requirements are necessary to make possible these physical manifestations. It may be either mental or physical or a combination of the two. It appears, however, to be a physical thing which some people have in greater degree than others. I have known cases where people have tried for years to produce physical phenomena and who were suddenly rewarded with success. Therefore, I believe that a great many persons are capable of bringing about these physical manifestations if they will carefully follow instructions given them. Many persons try for trumpet phenomena. They place a large tin or aluminum horn on the floor and wait for it to be levitated and for voices to issue from it. The horn or trumpet is merely an instrument for amplification and conversation of sound, since voices coming independently or issuing from no evident physical source are easily diffused. Therefore, it is often necessary for an instrument such as the trumpet to be used. In many cases, however, the voices will be heard without such instruments. Most people sit in darkened rooms for such phenomena and cannot produce voices in the light. In my own case, the voices speak in the light and regardless of time or place. In trying for such phenomena, it is well to have a small group, as each sitter seems to add power to the phenomena. The group must, of course, be harmonious and during any and all sittings remain relaxed and detached. One other important bit of advice is necessary. Do not ask for one specific person and close the door to others. The person to whom you wish to speak may not wish or be able to speak, while others may be very eager and help to enlighten you on many subjects. In other words, open the door for any and all visitors who are of good character. Demand only that those visiting speak the truth as they know it and are of progressive natures. Act as you would were you inviting ordinary visitors to your home. You would naturally want intelligent and nice people who would be truthful and respectable. I believe that the failure of many persons to acquire the physical mediumship comes from the ideas they have. Here again, they let superstition, religious beliefs, and foolish fancies enter. Some believe it is necessary to sit in a circle in complete darkness, hold hands, place feet flat on the floor, or sing hymns. The only necessities are, as I have repeated numerous times, that each sitter be relaxed and absolutely comfortable, that there be mental harmony among the group, and that they all be desirous of knowledge and progress. You may try in a darkened room at first if you wish. Sometimes the darkness helps one to relax and takes one's mind off the objective things. If you are successful in the dark, then try in the light. It is much more convincing to the skeptic to hear voices issuing from the air in a lighted room. There are others phases of physical phenomena, and the same power or conversion of teleplasmic material is evidently used to produce all types of physical manifestations, so that if you are successful in receiving one type, you will most likely have the same success with others. Lesson 4. Automatic writing is a very satisfactory means of communication. Here again, as with all other phases, we must first be completely relaxed and detached. Take a pencil in hand and place it on paper just as if you were going to write. Then wait for the pencil to be moved without voluntary participation on your part. When I do this, I feel a contraction of the muscles in my arm, followed by a quivering feeling. Then my hand seems to be pushed or moved back and forth on the paper. Absolute detachment is necessary so that you do not in any way influence the messages which are being written. It is wise to read a book while the writing is going on or engage in conversation with another person. In this way, you're not aware of what is being written, and your own thoughts and ideas will not in any way enter into what appears on the paper. In the beginning, you will probably receive nothing but lines, circles, or scratches. It takes time and practice before understandable sentences appear. When you finally begin to write legible material, you will receive astonishing messages. This, like all other psychic phenomena, depends on the mental capacity of the individual who is the receiving instrument. As I have explained before, we attract to ourselves from the overmind the kinds of information we are capable of absorbing. If we are only interested in trivialities, we receive only trivial things. It is a fact that like attracts like. Persons of low mentality always have friends of like mentality. You will receive first what you can understand, and second, the kind of information you are interested in and seek. Again, I repeat that my own experiences prove to me that these psychic contacts bring me in touch with distinct personalities in another phase of life. These personalities relay to me information on my own level of intelligence, understanding, and desires. You will no doubt draw your own conclusions about the phenomena you receive, but you will find that no matter what you believe concerning the source of such phenomena, you will get only what you are capable of absorbing. As you continue to receive this information, you will find that your capacity for knowledge will expand, because you will be instructed and logical explanations will be forthcoming to solve problems, answer questions, and increase your wisdom. Being capable of tuning in to the stream of knowledge or intelligence allows you to continue your education. You are again going to school and learning new and wonderful things. If you have not had the advantage of a college education, you now have the opportunity and unlimited opportunities far beyond that. As long as you desire to learn, there is always something ahead, and learning in this way, you will be less apt to get wrong information. Much of our school learning is abstract in nature. Except for the exact sciences, where experiments prove the rules, we gather a lot of information based on the opinions of men. Assuming that our psychic information much of the time is passed on to us from men in another phase of life, we then have the same situation to contend with. However, if we see contacts with personalities who have progressed greatly on their side of life, we are assured of more accurate information than that received from teachers here. Those on the other side who have gone forward are surely capable of answering correctly any of the questions you may or can propound. There is always much that they, no matter how far forwards they have traveled, do not know or understand, because the cosmos is constantly evolving and new questions arising. They, however, have long ago solved the simple problems of our earthly existence and therefore are capable of explaining methods to help us forward. So far, I have tried to explain the methods of several types of contact, and by one or more means, you will probably have opened the door to the university of life. Don't waste this wonderful opportunity to learn and merely ask for trivial information. The small and simple things are our own to solve. These little jobs must be done by us to teach us the rudimentary steps. We will never have any of our problems actually worked out for us by those on the other side, but we will receive knowledge which will teach us the simple and best means for working out our own problems and avoiding mistakes. Try sitting each day, if you can, at the same time. Experiment by giving some time to mental and physical phenomena, and you will soon or later make a contact. From then on, nothing is impossible. Lesson 5. You will find that as you develop and progress with your psychic work, that you will become more and more sensitive, both mentally and physically. You will become keenly aware of thoughts and sensations. For instance, you will feel the character of people more keenly. Some of these sensations will not be pleasant ones. It is important that you learn to control these feelings so they will not affect you adversely. In many instances, you may feel illness in others. If you fail to control these feelings, you will even suffer the pain of the ailments with which they are afflicted. It is enough to see or sense the condition and then, by mental control, shut out the actual pain or discomfort. Learn at once to objectify all so-called messages you receive, whether they be mental or physical ones. In this way, you, in a sense, hold them off at arm's length and see them clearly from every angle. When you feel disgust or anger for people and you can see and understand the reasons which make you react as you do, anger and disgust will be replaced by tolerance and pity. Your own judgment will tell you whether or not you can then offer advice that will be helpful. Man, because of his lack of knowledge and training, views life as though a keyhole. He, therefore, sees only a very small portion of the actual picture. Being able to see with greater perspective and at the same time eliminate personal feelings and judgments not only helps the other fellow, but saves you from stirring up your own emotions continuously. As you begin to use your extended vision and hearing, you will notice that a new calmness develops within you. The more often we make use of these faculties, the more adept we become in helping others as well as ourselves. The human brain seems to act as a kind of switchboard through which these psychic faculties operate. Therefore, one must allow them to enter without obstructing the flow. After a complete picture or idea has entered, then and only then must you analyze or judge. In psychic work, thought alone seems sufficient when one is asking a question. The answers to thought questions may be received by raps, audible voice, writing, mental impression, or in many other ways. Again, I repeat that my experiences have convinced me that life is continuous and that usually the answers to questions come from persons who exist in another phase of life. Therefore, when you become convinced that the same thing, you must guard against misinformation by knowing who gives the information and how trustworthy the sender may be. By keeping your thoughts and desires on a high plane of intelligence, you will receive information of like intelligence. You may speak your ideas and questions audibly if you find that the best means of expression, but by merely thinking, you will receive replies. Each and every manifestation or phenomena is made possible by and through the instrumentation of the psychic who is the receiver. In group sittings, each person contributes to the so-called power necessary for the production of phenomena. When you obtain satisfactory results, you may then feel confident that any or all types of phenomena may be forthcoming through patience and perseverance. Independent writing is a phase of physical mediumship which you may develop. Place a slate with a small piece of slate pencil or chalk on the face of it upon a table. Cover the slate with a piece of dark cloth to shut out all the light and proceed to forget it. Here again, detachment or lack of concentration upon the result seems to bring success. Try it over and over, and undoubtedly you will find writing upon the slate when you finally achieve the state of mind which seems to produce results. A pad of paper with a small piece of lead upon it will, in some cases, answer the same purpose as a slate does. This phase, which is called independent writing, differs from automatic writing inasmuch as the chalk or pencil is moved about independent of any physical power. Instead of being held by a person desiring information, this provides a satisfactory means of communication and is entirely influenced by the receiver, coming as it does without any apparent physical assistance. Lesson 6. Inasmuch as I have experienced all the sensations and effects I have so far mentioned, I am giving you the benefit of these experiences by describing my own methods of obtaining these results. Again, I repeat that my methods will work with others up to a certain point. From there on, you may have to devise means of your own to obtain further results. The extent of success you obtain through my instructions depend upon you as an individual. Because of both physical and psychological differences, individuals may and will receive various results by practicing the identical method. Lack of inhibitions makes the production of psychic phenomena more easy and simple. Persons, noises, places may have an adverse effect upon you, and this you will have to overcome by the elimination of self. The production of independent voices differs very little from other manifestations. My knowledge concerning this or any of the other phases of phenomena was meager when my development began. After seeing a few demonstrations of various kinds and reading what books I could get from the public library, I decided to prove to myself whether or not psychic communication was a fact. If others could produce these phenomena, I was sure I also could develop whatever it took to do likewise. For 4 years, I sat quietly each day learning the art of relaxation and complete detachment. During those years, I advanced my knowledge through information received by raps, automatic writing, clairvoyance, and clairaudience. At times, when my family and friends took part in sittings, partial materialization also appeared. After 4 years of these extraordinarily interesting experiences, we suddenly began to hear a squeaky high sound in our home. We looked about to see if it came from steam radiators or loose boards. Finally, we became aware of the fact that the noise sounded like words being spoken. With no apparent effort on my part, the voice eventually became clear and understandable, although it has always remained toneless and very high-pitched. Through experiences such as I have related, it seems apparent to me that the only qualifications absolutely necessary for the development and progress along these lines are sincere desire and patience. As you become capable and as your capacity enlarges, one phase follows another in sequence. In using the word capacity, I mean a kind of growth which takes place in an involuntary manner. One becomes physically capable, in some unknown way, of producing unusual phenomena. Simultaneously, one achieves understanding of the process at work which he may not, because of lack of words, be able to explain. There is a sense of tolerance for others, a feeling of peace within that can be received in no other way. You cannot and must not decide for yourself what manner of psychic phenomena you will develop. Of course, each one of us may desire to excel in one or another field of production, but each must accept that for which he is best suited. It is, I repeat, involuntary growth. We can, however, through mental and physical cooperation, help whom or whatever it is that stimulates this growth. By allowing unobstructed inflow of the stream of intelligence and by heeding its advice as to physical cooperation, we develop to the best of our abilities. You will eventually discover the best means to employ for bringing about certain manifestations. Lying down in a darkened room may bring desired results. It remains for you to discover the best effective means of cooperation to get results. You may be a potentially fine voice medium, of which there seem to be few. I am of the opinion that many of us possess the ability to produce independent voice, and with persistence of purpose will succeed in obtaining it. At first, the voice may be weak and difficult to understand, but by experimentation, you may save time in improving it. My own lack of knowledge in the beginning of my development made the process long and tedious. Because of the thin, reedy quality of the voice I somehow produce, it was necessary, and still is at times, to use the amplification to increase the sound. At first, a trumpet or tin horn was used as a hearing aid. By placing the small end in the ear for listening, it conserved and amplified the sound. Later, in my work with Hamlin Garland, we used an electric amplifier. You may be fortunate, because of physical makeup, in producing a loud voice with the sufficient tonal quality that makes for easy understanding. Some groups with whom I have come in contact feel that they get better results by sitting in circular formation, holding hands and keeping their feet flat on the floor. They believe that this produces a kind of battery which adds strength to the phenomena. In my own case, it makes no apparent difference how we sit, whether there be darkness or light, or whether there be 2 or 10 persons present. When poor reception follows, it is because of a lack of relaxation by one or more of the group, or because of inharmony among the sitters. Sometimes, of course, there seem to be conditions beyond our control or understanding which make for poor reception or none at all. You cannot select the kind of phenomena you desire, but you can open or close the door to personalities who wish to enter and speak to you. You are the host inviting guests to your own home. Be sure to ask for names and identifications of those who enter, and better still, through clairvoyance, see those who speak to you. Accept any information they offer for what it is worth. If a man was untrustworthy while in the physical body, he may not have progressed sufficiently since passing over to be trusted. Use your judgment in psychic work exactly as you do in all other affairs. Do not accept statements that sound illogical. Ask for detailed explanations and satisfy yourself as to their authenticity. In this work, you are dealing with normal phenomena. It is neither supernatural nor supernormal. If it seems to be either, it is simply because we do not understand. The radio seems supernatural to a savage. You may become bored with my constant repetition of relaxation and detachment, but I hope to make it most important to you because these states of being bring desired results. During such states, you must also have visual and hearing expectancy. You will see and hear psychically because clairvoyance and clairaudience can be developed by any mental normal person. If you are successful in receiving independent voice, you as well as all others within hearing range will be aware of it. When these voices become clearly audible, you can carry on regular conversations, ask questions, and receive intelligent answers. I have heard these voices speaking many different languages, and contrary to much public opinion, worthwhile information on all subjects has been forthcoming. This, of course, depends entirely on the contacts one makes. Use caution in making these contacts, use judgment in accepting information received, and your efforts will be rewarded. Lesson 7. There are numerous phenomena which occur during trance. The subject may be the medium through which materialization may take place. There may be manifested the phenomena of transportation, apport, independent writing, voice, fingerprints on wax, or any other physical phenomena, depending entirely on the medium's capacity for production. From personal observation, I believe trance to be a state similar to hypnosis and probably induced in its initial state by the subject himself. After lulling himself into a superficial state of sleep, the subject then seems to be taken under control by outside influence, and an involuntary produces results of one kind or another. The trance state may be induced in many ways. Either lie down or sit in a comfortable position so that you are completely unaware of your body. Stop your thoughts from flitting to different subjects. I realize that this is a big order, but it can and must be done. You will relax your body and become totally unconscious of it quite easily. But quieting the mind is the difficult thing to do. Nevertheless, it can be done. If necessary at first, concentrate on a color or think of a calm body of water. When we go to sleep each night, we do exactly this. Very often before sleep comes, we go over events of the day or plan for tomorrow, and we think so much that we finally exhaust ourselves and sleep finally comes. Nevertheless, at the final moment when sleep overtakes us, our minds become blank. When inducing trance, one must not allow his or her mind to be at all active, but still and passive. Never analyze your feelings or the reactions caused by the inducing of trance. Your pulse beat will probably increase, your breathing may become rapid, and because of these unusual feelings, fear may result. The normal feeling is to cling to consciousness, but if one forgets self, the sensation is one of falling into natural sleep, and one will awaken as from natural sleep. You may even set a time for awakening by merely thinking or stating aloud the exact moment you wish to awaken. If, during your previous experiments and experiences, you have convinced yourself that these phenomena are, in some manner, controlled by personalities on the other side, you must then be certain that while in trance you are under the guidance of someone on whom you can rely. Just as, in hypnosis, the operator must not only be trustworthy, but intelligent as well. Because practically the same conditions exist, and you, as the subject, must not act unwisely. Although one will never do anything which is contrary to his or her moral judgment while in the hypnotic state, he or she may, under control, act foolishly. Trance has a very important place in psychic work. The subject cannot influence nor color any information which may be forthcoming by his or her own thoughts or ideas. One becomes a clear channel like a telephone through which an unadulterated information comes. Through clairvoyance and clairaudience, the medium expresses information received in his or her own way and often interprets such information incorrectly. In trance, the words expressed are those of the sender, not the receiver. Practically the same conditions exist during trance when physical manifestations take place. The subject is completely relaxed so that his or her physical body can lend whatever assistance is necessary to make production successful. Judge how important it is to place yourselves in the hands of competent operators who can be trusted completely. Before experimenting with trance, you will have had sufficient experience to enable you to judge the source of your information as to its veracity. After lying down or seating yourself in a very comfortable position and emptying the mind of all active thought, you then are beginning to induce trance, and you will finally be taken over by your unseen control. In some cases, soft rhythmic music or the ticking of a clock helps induce sleep. If these methods fail, try gazing at a small ray of light, which can be produced by painting a light bulb black except for a spot about the size of a dime through which the light may shine. Each and every person will find his or her own best method for achieving the trance state. I find that sitting myself in a comfortable chair in a dark or semi-dark quiet room and covering my eyes to keep from having visual distraction, I can best reach the subjective state I am seeking. When a subject reaches the sleep state, he will usually speak, answer questions asked by him by witnesses, or he may move about and act according to the direction of his unseen control. In some cases, he may remain absolutely quiet during the entire period of trance, but upon awakening, he will relate experiences or conversations which took place during his so-called absence from the physical plane. It is unwise to attempt to induce trance when you are overtired or sleepy, for the result will probably be just ordinary sleep. The most important thing is, I repeat, certainty that the unseen operator is trustworthy and truthful. Trance is a fine phase through which one can and will receive accurate and valuable information. Lesson 8. Although materialization is a rare phase of psychic phenomena, it is my belief that any physical medium is capable of producing it. All physical manifestations require the use of teleplasm to make possible their production, and if a person can produce this substance to enable a pencil or table to move, then with practice he can also cause to appear materialized or etherealized forms. This teleplasmic substance oozes from the body of the medium and forms itself into various shapes. Apparently, some people possess a sufficient physical power to exude either more of this teleplasm or a highly condensed type of it. It is in some manner used like cloth to spin garments for the visiting personalities. Where the material is less dense, the garment is thin and wispy. This manifestation is usually referred to as etherealization. The more opaque form is called materialization. Most materialization mediums are in trance during this phenomena, but in the annals of psychic research there are mentioned a few who produce such manifestations while awake, and some even cause forms to appear in brightly lit rooms or in daylight. I myself witnessed such a demonstration in bright sunlight. The medium was a man named William Hart, who has since passed away. I apparently possess a thin type of teleplasm which produces ethereal-like forms, and that perhaps is the reason for the high, reedy quality of the independent voice which is heard around me. Masks form over my face, and occasionally the teleplasm will cover my entire body. The material is a sort of vapory substance with a phosphorescent glow which induces easily. It is, therefore, wise to construct a small cabinet in which the instrument may be seated, and this enclosure will help concentrate the material so that it can shape itself more readily. The room should be dark except for a tiny red or amber light high up near the ceiling where the direct rays will not interfere with the phenomena. Light rays seem to have a bad effect when shining directly on the teleplasm. Leave a small slit or opening in the front of the cabinet so that the material can come through. There are definite physical sensations which accompany this form of phenomena. Usually a cold breeze is felt near by and a feeling of a spider web forming over one's face, neck, and arms. Breathing will become rapid and then slow down considerably. A kind of hollowness may be felt in the stomach or diaphragm. It is quite natural when these sensations take place that you will begin to analyze them, but after they occur a few times, you will pay no attention at all to them. This, like all other manifestation, necessitates a state of unconcern. The moment one begins to analyze the process, the production stops. Detachment seems absolutely necessary for any and all phenomena, and the most successful demonstration I have given was when I was unconscious of what was taking place. While sitting for some other type of demonstration or just talking with people, the etherealizations have taken place. This has happened without the aid of a cabinet, but always in a dimly lit room. As the teleplasmic of substance is exuded from the body of the medium, it depletes the system while in use. It is therefore necessary to allow this substance to be reabsorbed by the body when the demonstration is over. As I have said, light rays have a dissolving effect upon the material, so bright lights should not be turned on until the subject is sure that he or she feels normal again. You may feel discouraged because materialization is not forthcoming for some time, but apparently it is a most difficult type of demonstration to produce and may take a long time. However, like all work of this kind, it requires patience and perseverance. If you have the qualifications for producing any type of physical phenomena, you may be sure that with time and patience, you can and will produce all types. At first, there may be just tiny spots or wisps of this phosphorus-like substance around you, but eventually, you will produce faces or full figures. When full forms finally appear, they will be animated by the personalities they clothe, and voices will issue from them. This same teleplasmic substance which clothes the visitor also produces some sort of voice box so that speech is possible. From observation and information received via psychic channels, I have concluded that everything in the cosmos has form and substance, much of which we cannot sense because of our physical and mental limitations. These visiting personalities, or so-called spirits, have form and substance which we cannot see with the physical eye. They therefore borrow from us enough physical substance or material to clothe themselves so that we may see, hear, and recognize them. It becomes evident while watching materialization that teleplasmic material is being molded into different forms, much as a sculptor molds clay figures. In such manifestation as levitation or independent writing, small quantities of teleplasm are exuded by the psychic instrument, just sufficient to produce rods or bars for manipulation. But the phenomena of materialization requires a large quantity of the substance and therefore depletes the body of the medium during the demonstration. Special care is therefore required so that the body of the psychic may reabsorb this teleplasm. This phase of psychic phenomena is, according to books on the subject, extremely rare, but it is also, in my opinion, one of the most satisfying and convincing. I shall be exceedingly interested in hearing from readers that they have experienced such phenomena, and I hope that my suggestions will help to bring them about. Lesson 9. The trance state is conducive to production of extremely interesting phenomena for the observers, but many also bring like results to the subject. While the observers look on, the subject himself may actually leave the physical body and travel in so-called space and time. This is called astral travel. During the period of trance, while the body of the medium sits or lies quietly asleep and the teleplasmic substance of the instrument is being utilized to produce some physical type of phenomena, the ego or actual self of the medium may travel, see other places, visit someone at a distance who will be quite unaware of his or her presence, and even visit and talk with those who have ostensibly died. One may travel to a distant place, enter the home of a friend, note the exact time by a clock, describe the room and other details, and afterwards verify each detail of the trip. In contrast to our movements while awake, this travel is effortless. For instance, I might desire to go from Chicago to New York while in trance. I seem to be there instantly, without the sensation of having traveled at all. It is thought travel, and yet one actually goes, sees things he has never seen before, and can later give accurate descriptions of the places he visits. Thoughts are definite things, and we must learn to objectify our thoughts by putting them into action. We do this when we desire to perform astral travel. Before going into trance, we plan a trip we wish to make, and then set about making it without any physical activity whatsoever. We travel much as we do when watching a motion picture travelogue. As a spectator, we actually travel, see strange lands and people, and become one with the picture. It is possible that in astral travel, we bring scenes, conversations, and events to us rather than go to them. Whatever your explanation may be, these experiences are unusually interesting, as well as conducive to investigation. In the eternal here and now, we can, with understanding, impinge upon that which we desire. Living as we do on a physical plane of existence, we must first desire, then plan, and then through physical action, bring these thoughts and plans into being. Our limited sense of logic tells us that it is impossible to achieve results by thought alone. Yet such things can be accomplished, and through knowledge, the operating principle becomes clear and logical. The thing which hampers us most is that we cannot think of ourselves apart from our physical bodies. But in a state of trance, we are oblivious of the physical part of us, and the ego or self, being unobstructed, acts with freedom. Before entering a state of trance, decide definitely what your desires are for astral travel. Do not leave your destination or activity to chance, but plan in advance. Decide what you wish to do or where you desire to go. If you were about to take a pleasure or business trip, you would sit down and plan an itinerary. You wouldn't buy a straight ticket to San Francisco if you wished to visit to New York. First, make your plans for an astral trip, then sit or lie down in a most comfortable position, loosen your clothing, and induce a state of trance. Any pressure on the body makes one more aware of the physical you, which you must forget completely. Do not fall into natural sleep. You will know the difference by the new sensation. In astral travel, you will find that you are acting in a dual way as both hypnotist and subject. You induce trance, and by planning beforehand, control your activities while in trance. It is apparently a phenomenon brought about by auto-suggestion, in which you are at one and the same time asleep yet awake and traveling. Direct yourself with caution and understanding. Don't set out on useless or foolish missions, but accomplish something. Gain knowledge on each expedition. Lesson 10. Spiritual healing is accomplished in various ways. There are healers who claim to heal by the laying of hands, the mumbling of magic words, or by uttering prayers. Having had little or no contact with these people, I am in no position to judge them. To dispute all such claims would be simple ignorance on my part, for many cases of so-called miraculous cures have been observed and recorded by men of integrity. Knowing, as I do, that nature includes within itself the solutions to all problems, I assume that the answers to physical as well as mental healing questions are certainly included. Having seen teleplasm exuded and then reabsorbed involuntarily by the body, I know that other substances can likewise be introduced. Probably certain basic substances to supply body deficiencies can and are supplied if and when we know how to acquire them. Having witnessed many amazing recoveries and healings in which no prayers were offered up, nor was the patient subjected to manipulation or any other kind of physical contact, I know that so-called spiritual healings are a fact. Undoubtedly, great physicians having passed over continue to learn and more about healing. Certainly, they can and do minister to us if we allow them to do so. In our limited stages of development here, none of us has sufficient knowledge and understanding to see and know much about anything in particular. Health as well as peace of mind and ample provision is a matter of knowledge. Knowledge of how to live in accordance with nature's laws. Unfortunately, many of us are heirs to the weakness of our predecessors, and knowing little more than they did, we pass these weaknesses down to the next generation. Knowledge and understanding comprise the only solution, and this may lie in the hands of healers or skilled medical men. We cannot deny the fact that medical science has made us a healthier race and has extended the lifespan of men considerably. But at the same time, we must admit that remarkable healings take place by spiritual means alone. I accept with much gratitude the aid and advice offered me through the personalities who have left the physical plane and whose wisdom and vision and understanding surpass ours. They have, on numerous occasions, diagnosed illnesses, and these diagnoses were corroborated by physicians. They have been advised specific treatments and remedies, which the physicians also prescribed. I have seen patients recover after medical science had given up all hope, and those from the other side said, "We will help." This, like much else I have told you, will mean little until you have had like experiences. All I say is, prove it for yourselves. As I near the end of this little book, let me state that the knowledge I have gained through psychic contacts has brought me untold happiness and contentment. I have learned to live with myself and understand others. I have formulated my own philosophy and religion, which is based on reason and logic. The more I learn, the more I realize how little I know, and the more grateful I am for having the doorway of knowledge open to me. I am certain that among my readers, there are many who will find the key to this doorway and enter a new and wonderful world of peace, progress, and plenty. I shall at all times be extremely interested in your development and progress, and shall always be willing to offer any suggestions or help I can. It is certain that with such understanding we can and will help build a better world for coming generations. The end. We have now reached the conclusion of the book titled You Are Psychic by Sophia Williams. I'd love to hear your comments too. Have you had any psychic experience in any of these fields or forms that Sophia Williams mentioned? If so, please do leave a comment. Also, if you know of anyone that's interested in this content, share it with them, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel.